What's up, Hokie fans? This is Coach Mike Holmes, contributor with the Sons of Saturday, and this is the Hokie hitter of the week for the Louisville game. Virginia Tech Hokies ran into a buzzsaw. Coach Jeff Brom had pretty much a perfect game plan against us, exploited every single weakness that the Hokies had, and were able to maximize a roster that was a little bit dinged up, a little bit banged up, and able to come out with a massive victory. That is a legitimate top 10 team. They were going to give Florida State a run for their money, I believe, in the ACC championship game. There's really not a whole lot to pick from this week because Virginia Tech didn't perform very well. It was the lowest offensive output that we've seen in a very long time from the Hokies. And there was not a lot of positives. One thing that did kind of rear its ugly head this week were problems in the run fit game on defense. And so that's what we're going to take a look at today in this week's Hokie hitter. Again, the purpose of this little exercise is to really try to break down X's and O's, get you kind of understand what's happening on the field, a little bit more detail other than the actual results of any given play. So what I have for you here today is kind of a vanilla breakdown of run fits, why things might go wrong for Virginia Tech from time to time there, and when it works, why it works. You know, when our run game stuffs the opponent, which happens more often than not, why that works and why that happens. So first off, when we talk about fitting a run, that basically means that your defense here, your base defense, is set up so that every single gap of the offense is covered to protect the run game, to protect against the run. And you're going to hear me use some terms this week, so I'm going to go ahead and break those down for you. So when I say gaps, when I talk about gaps, there are A gaps, which are on both sides of the center, in between the center and the guard. Those are the A gaps. Okay. The B gaps here are between the guard and the tackle. The C gaps are going to be outside of the tackle. If there is a tight end here, you'd have a D gap out there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later down the road. So you hear me use the term gap. Okay. You're going to hear the term slant. Okay. When we say slant, it means basically the entire defensive front is going to go in one direction or the other based on a call from the sideline. And that call is either going to be strong side or weak side. And that is the strength of the formation. So normally you start by looking where the tight end is lined up. So if the tight end is going to be on the right side here, it's going to be defensive strong left because they're looking at it from the other side. So if they hear a left call or a Louis call or something else that starts with an L, that's telling the defensive line, hey, the strong side's to the left. If we're slanting to the weak side, the whole entire defensive line is slanting to the right. Okay, and we'll talk about why folks might decide to do that here in just a little bit. Okay, so now that we got kind of the vocabulary out of the way, we want to kind of go over what a base run fit looks like from a defensive perspective. So here is, and I'll go ahead and put the star position in here for Virginia Tech. So our base front seven is what you're seeing here. We have 2-5 techniques on the outside. That means they're outside shade, okay, of the tackle. You have a 3 technique here in the middle, and that 3 technique is usually playing to the strong side of the field, the strong side of the formation. So if motion shifts, if they have a tight end and a wing here, for example, and you see that formation shift, you might see this nose tackle here who's playing a 1 technique or playing a shade of the center. He might bump out here to a 3 tech, and this 3 technique would bump over to the shade on the other side. So when you see defensive line movement, they're adjusting normally with the strength of the offensive formation. Okay, so here's our base lineup with no stunts, no games, no tricks on the defensive line. This is what a base run fit would look like. Okay, Your 5 technique here is going to have outside contain on both sides, okay? The reason why we call that outside contain is their job is to basically go as wide as the play goes. So if it's a run to the outside, if there is a running back in play and he goes to the outside, that defensive end's job is to widen out along with the play to try to force him to cut back inside, okay? Because that's where you have all 10 of your fellow defensive teammates scraping to the ball, okay? That's what contain is, if you hear people talk about the term contain. Now, your 3 technique here is going to have the strong side B gap. Your nose tackle is going to have the weak side A. And your backers here, okay, your Mike backer is going to have run fit responsibility for the strong side A. Your backer is going to have weak side B, okay? So so let's say we're in 10 personnel, okay, which means you have 1 running back, no tight end, so you have 4 receivers wide. In this base situation, we should be able to cover every single gap of the run game in this particular alignment. Then you have, of course, you have your star, who's probably, if this back ends up flaring out, he's going to be following that running back. Okay. Now, with that, there are different things that can happen. So the reason why we get stuck sometimes in this run game is when we start doing some tricks and we start doing some stunts, playing some games on the defensive line. So let's go back and look at that slant call that we talked about a little while ago. So let's say we're playing this game here. We're trying to kind of guess where the play is going to go. We're the defensive line trying to assume, hey, we think they're going to run to the weak side of the formation, so we're going to get a head start on it, and we're going to try to cut them off, force them to cut back against the grain. Okay, so let's say we're in a slant weak here to the weak side. Our 5 technique here is going to maintain their contain out here. Okay, this nose tackle is going to try to cut across. Okay, he's going to try to cut across into that B gap. Okay, he's going to try to slant across the face of this guard. Our 3 technique is going to try to also cross the face of the guard here. Okay, the 5 technique is going to slant into this B gap, okay, which means my star now has to step up and play contain. Okay, so when this happens, we basically now have our Mike backer is going to slant also, and he's gonna fill in this backside A gap, weak side A gap, and now my backer is free to kind of flow with the play, okay, and be that force guy and force the running back into to force him to make a move. Okay, all of these defensive linemen have a responsibility, and that is to spill the running back. Okay, they are spill players, and what that means is that we want them to get about a yard behind the line of scrimmage, and we want them to maintain that gap integrity. We want them to anchor down, so they want to get their hands on their offensive lineman, and they want to be able to peek over their shoulder, read the play, see where it goes, read and react, and go make the play. Where we get in trouble here, and this happened to us occasionally on some of our explosive runs that we've seen this season, is if we guess wrong and the offensive line happens to be running a play to this side. So now if we're slanting in this direction and this tackle is stepping to his left, he's automatically going to be able to take him where he wants to go. Our center here is going to be chipping on the nose up to the backer here. The guard is also going to be able to pick up this nose as he's coming across. This backside guard is going to be able to wash this 3 technique down. Same with the backside tackle on the 5. So if they're running a zone play to the left and we have a slant weak called here, that's where this Mike linebacker gets caught up in the wash in the zone, and that running back is able to hit that seam. Okay, so that's where we get in trouble. Is really a lot of times just boils down to dumb luck. We look at the formation, we look at the alignment, we say, hey, based on analytics and stuff that we've scouted on film, we think based in this situation, they want to run to this side. So we're going to slant in that direction, and we get caught. Okay. Now, I also mentioned a little while ago that we're going to end up playing some games up front, and that kind of adjusts our run fit a little bit as well. Okay, so let's take a look again. Okay, so here's our offensive line again. I'll go ahead and throw a tight end in there this time, just so you kind of see where what we're doing. Okay, so we have our 5 technique. We have our shade here again. We have our 3 technique here, and I'll go ahead and put my denotations here. Now, when we get into this lineup, when you see a tight end here, you normally won't have a 9 technique out here unless you have another linebacker coming in on a blitz. A lot of times what you'll see, instead of having this defensive end, he'll line up in a 6, which is head up of this tight end, okay? And it allows him to kind of play both directions. He can play 2 gaps in this particular alignment. Okay, you still have your backer here, you still have your Mike, and you still have your star lined up over here. Okay, now when we start playing games, okay, this is where things get kind of tricky. This is where the defensive line really had success during the Syracuse game, during the Pitt game, when we were able to really get to the quarterback. Wake Forest, we had a lot of success. We were doing some twists, we were doing some stunts, we were wrapping guys around and playing some games. So let's say out of this alignment here, we're going to do what I used to call an eat. Okay, that is the end and tackle stunt. Okay, so we're starting to play some games and loop people around. So basically, what we're telling this with an eat stunt is that we're telling the end to crash down first. Okay, we're telling the tackle to loop around. So we're trying to crash down here. We're telling these guys to loop around. Now they're playing contain. Okay, that forces this linebacker here to have to step in. Okay, and really be wary if there is a run play called where we have this twist on. Okay, they can't just rush up here like I drew that line. They can't just rush up there and just go straight into the play. They have to be more of a read and react when we start doing some stuff on the offensive line. So this end and tackle stunt, so the end crashes down first, the tackles wrap around to the outside. Now they're the contain. We're crashing in on the inside, and this just confuses the tackles and the tight ends and the rest of the offensive line. If they're not a very good communicating offensive line, they're going to have a lot of difficulty calling switches and creating protection. You get offensive linemen's shoulders turned, and that just leaves free alleys for these running backs to go and make plays. Okay. So we can do a variety of different things. We can actually call an X stunt with a mic in the nose. We used to call that a man stunt, where the nose would crash and across the face. The mic would come, and they would basically switch their responsibilities. And so if you're not very good in your communication, or if somebody recognizes the wrong strength or they read the wrong thing, that's what can get us in trouble. Unfortunately, it happened a bunch during the Louisville game, but it didn't really happen. It's been better over the course of the season. Linebacker coaches are doing a pretty good job with the amount of youth and inexperience and the lack of size that we have in the linebacker room. You know, we have guys playing in the linebacker position that are built like strong safeties. You know, they're built like Cam Chancellor was back in the day. You know, they're not really built like true inside linebackers. And so when a guard is able to get on them in the run game, and Brian Hudson, former Hokie, who played center for Louisville, he was able to actually get up into the second level a bunch last week and cause a lot of those Isaac Garendo explosive runs that they had last week against Louisville. The great thing is that a lot of these things, it's not an every down situation. You know, we saw a couple times where we did have a breakdown where the mic got caught in the wash. You had Nasir Peoples in there playing strong safety, and he was able to come down into the box and make a couple big collisions on Jawar Jordan and stop some runs that way early on. The run game is it's a cat and mouse game. It's playing chess. The defensive coordinator, Chris Marv, Coach Pry, everybody, all the linebacker coaches, DB, secondary coaches, Coach Cheetah, they are all trying to basically guess based on analytics, based on film, based on formations. We don't have a Connor Stallions at Virginia Tech that I know of. And so they're basically relying on game film to kind of figure out and use analytics and determine where the play is going to go. Sometimes you guess right, sometimes you guess wrong, and that's when it bites you. It happens to literally every football team at literally every level. Even at the NFL, you got linebackers that guess wrong, you got coordinators that guess wrong, and things happen. It's going to require a lot of discipline in the next few weeks because we are going to see a mobile quarterback against Boston College. We're going to see a mobile quarterback against NC State. And so we are going to have to make sure that we are sound in our run fits. We're sound in our gap integrity. These defensive linemen can maintain and anchor down in their gap, force that quarterback or that running back or whoever has the ball on offense to bounce the ball to the outside where we can read and react, and our athletes can go make plays in space. Okay, so a little different spin on it this week. Wanted to make sure that we saw a couple of different things. Thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing. Please follow and subscribe to the Sons of Saturday YouTube page. Like the page. We did get some comments in the past couple weeks about, hey, why aren't you putting any video clips in with these videos? That's because ESPN owns all the content, and we would get a content strike if we were to post that content on YouTube as well. If you do want to see clips of what I'm talking about, there are articles attached with each one of these videos that go on the Sons of Saturday page. You can find them. It's called the Hokie Hitter of the Week. I do a little write-up to go along with it, and I do show some game clips in addition to having this breakdown. So we have 3 games left in the regular season. We're only guaranteed 3 more times. I hope we get some more. We win 2 out of these next 3. We're going bowling. So keep your heads up, Hokie Nation. Keep the faith. I'll be in town for the NC State game. If you want to stop by and see us, thank you so much for tuning in. Go Hokies.